Ah.
You can do
I
the
pressed
rest
it as well.
Look, it
Good
says live in
evening
the
and
corner
welcome to Let's Drone Out. I can't remember what episode number this is, so you'll have to...
363 says so up there, look. Up the top.
Well, I can't
in the
see
corner.
that. It doesn't appear for me because I'm not logged in.
363.
Here we go. Joining us tonight, we have Curry Kitten,
Hello.
we have Cole,
Howdy.
we have Stephen,
Hey.
and we have Tony.
Bonjour.
We may have Jack joining us at some point. We don't know. We'll see. I'm Frank, and this week the UK is on fire.
It's quite warm, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there was
We
a
are
massive
melting.
fire on my way home when I was driving. I don't know what was on fire, but something was on fire.
Just
Quite
people.
big.
People have started bursting into flames now. It's got too hot.
That's what Jack's busy doing. He's just got the fire extinguisher out. He's got like all those lipos on his window shelf. He's on his windowsill. He's got like a bucket of isopropanol. He's got his little ultrasonic cleaner full of isopropanol with added fire.
We even had a rule about not being on fire, but this rule's getting broken all
Rule
over the country
0. Yeah.
Yep.
Do not be on fire.
Too late. We're off.
It's
But
rather warm.
this is going to be an interesting one because tomorrow, Cole, you're going to be in the heat with us.
Yes, I will. As
Joining
of
us
this
in the
evening.
frying
Yes.
pan.
Yep. Yeah, it's very strange because, I'll be traveling into the future from Canada this evening, and I will arrive further ahead in the future tomorrow in the UK. So that'll be something.
Great Scott,
Yeah.
Cole.
It's
Yep.
getting heavy.
88 miles an hour. I hope it goes a bit faster than that, but
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. Yeah, it's exciting. I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna definitely. It's only like 22 degrees here in Canada right now where I live, so
Oh, it's a heat wave here.
I get to
Yeah.
enjoy the heat wave, which I just had last week here. So, woohoo.
so you're going back in time and forward in time at the same time. Very
Yeah,
impressive. And you're
Yeah.
coming over in part for FPV Drone Fest.
that's right. I am. Yes, I will be arriving tomorrow, traveling on a crazy journey north to FPV Drone Fest. Yeah.
I had word from the people. They didn't write this on the site, but if you're pitching up and camping there, then you can arrive from 5 p.m. tomorrow, 5 p.m. on Friday. And if you're checking your quad safety, that starts at 6, and it's looking like the gates will open at 8 a.m. on the Saturday and Sunday. So if you're
Cool.
a day ticket, then 8 a.m. is when it opens. If you want to get your quad ready and make sure that you can prove failsafe is working and you aren't blasting RF noise like a broken microwave, then the queue starts at 6 p.m. on Friday. If you're rocking up and pitching a tent, 5 p.m. on Friday.
Cool.
Speaking of rocking up and pitching a tent, Jack, hello.
Hey! Oi,
Hey,
I
Sorry,
don't know
I,
tent pitching.
I still not very well.
Oh, we thought you were putting out the fire.
No fire here.
You sure? Okay. Have you got anything flying for the weekend?
Yeah, my backup quad, my main quad's got
Is
a
it
few
sad?
issues. I'm gonna try and finish that this evening. Hey Tailspin, hey Lurgy. Hello Caroline.
Well, you're better than failsafe because he's tried to demolish old Croatian communist architecture with his quad so far, and I think he's only got one that's actually in a single piece now.
Yeah, I'm at the moment I'm definitely one quad jack.
No,
at the
Jack,
moment.
that's not good. You're normally at least 2 quads, Jack.
Yeah, well, the Ultra fried the regulator on. I went out with the lovely Chris G. This is my first TPU print. It's
let's see it.
horrendous.
Ooh.
Was it
Let's have a
bad?
look. What
It
you been
looks
doing?
like a spider's nest. It looks awful.
Oh,
Hang on.
that's That's normal for
That looks
TPU.
pretty good.
Show your
Is there that
TPU.
in there, like?
Oh, that's all
Well,
right.
that's
That
the
just
stuff you
happens,
got to
mate.
clean up. That's called
Yeah.
cleaning.
You
it
got
up.
to punch out the supports, and if you get the head speed to move when it's not printing faster than it moves when it is printing, you can reduce the stringing.
Okay,
You
cool.
like- Yeah. If you get the head to sprint between places where it's printing as fast as possible, then it like snaps the little stringy bits and they don't get drawn across the gap.
This is
Yeah.
exactly why I buy them instead
Could just
of
get one of
making them.
these.
What a resin.
Oh, yeah.
as now like happily used by Andy RC, and this is my first TPU print.
Yeah, and then your cam
Nice.
your
Oh,
cam
man,
holder will
that
be
looks good.
great until it spends too much time in the sun and degrades under UV and falls apart.
It's not resin. That's the
No.
Maztec thing. This is.
I thought you were
Saloon.
pointing at the resin printer, right?
Oh
okay.
God,
No,
no.
controlled environment printer.
They offered me
Oh,
a resin
right.
printer, and I talked to Frank. I said, Frank, resin printers are no good for FPV, are they? And Frank said,
No.
no. They'll go crappy in the sun because that's how you cure them. And I was like, oh, I'll get. So that's FDM, but my previous one couldn't print TPU, and this one can. And
So
it just
that's
printed.
the printer where you can get like live slow-mo or rather time-lapse videos of your print and view on your phone, but you need to pay a subscription service. Have you managed to hack it open and figure out how to control it without the Creality Uber brain intruding on your printing?
Yes, I got so far and decided I might leave it a couple of weeks just in case Gravity was still watching and they got upset with me. But
Right,
yeah,
fair
there's a web interface to it on a port if you guess the admin password of admin. And they've got an interface there to the camera, but that doesn't work. However, there's also a telnet server running, but then you have to try and guess the password to that, which I can't guess, but I think, because I also found a way to execute shell commands via the web interface, but I can't pipe things out into a file from a web interface, so I think what I need to do is chuck a script on the SD card and execute it via that to change the root password
Smart
and tell it
guy.
in that way.
There's no stopping you, Curry.
Yeah, but
The world
I
is
wasn't in a
your
rush
safety
because I was.
valve.
It's not a huge hassle for me versus my other printer to take my SD card and go. Oh, I have to lean backwards a bit to do it.
Yeah.
It was just. I think it's quite nice to have the time lapse, but I want to do it from my desktop, not the phone. So you've got the option there with these types of taking the firmware off of it and putting something on akin to like Octoprint or stuff like that. But then you do lose the functionality of the app. But it's a question of do you want the app? So I don't know. I'll play around with it. At the moment, I'm like, oh, I'll get around to it eventually. Everything at the moment, I don't know about you guys, but I'm like, I need to do this, and I'm like, oh Jesus, it's just so hot. I'm just gonna sit here.
Everything is
It really
so
does
much.
slow innovation. It really does.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, I need to, pack everything, charge everything, sort the car out, and just like, no. I'll just sit here and...
Charge. Ugh. Melt.
What, you're not bothering charging things, so you're just bringing your quads and you'll
I
just,
think
pump them up,
Yeah.
wind them up, do the
And
little
there will
rubber
be
band.
charging on site, but yeah, I was going to arrive with like 15 packs ready to go.
I'm actually going to write batteries on my hands because it was the first time that I remembered that that's a thing.
I think it's an interesting thing to go there with one quad, given that it is a massive
It's a lot of
bando
concrete.
with lots of sticky out bits and holes to get stuck on. And Jack's famous for just like reversing onto a hill and calling it a failsafe.
It was.
Yeah, but then they'll get to spend the entire weekend rebuilding things. And, that
Which
would
he
be
loves.
happy.
Give me that here.
or climbing up big
Insane.
machines trying to find his quad.
No, he won't climb. He normally lobs his chair at stuff.
Speaking of
Yeah.
multiple quads, guys, you never guess what I've had an urge to do. Buy more quad parts.
Hey.
Buy more
No.
effing quad parts.
It's not like-
Yeah, you wouldn't have believed it, but it happened.
Officially, just to let people know, Cole is coming across because he's your dodgy
He's my propeller bender.
mule for
man on
getting
the inside.
props in from
It's got
Canada
the hot
to the UK.
polycarbonate action, the yellow. You know what I mean?
Don't tell
Right.
customs.
Smuggling props.
I'm
You can't get it in the
smuggling
UK.
propellers.
You'll believe it, how difficult. So yeah, I started with this. Oh my god, what a pretty quad! Oh, it's a lovely yellow, and I color coordinated it and everything. And this is a Recon 5, which was the last word in light long range as of 18 months ago, but it flew like a plate of jelly on a hot day. Was really frustrating to tune, and actually for a long range there's not a lot of space for a battery. That's a GoPro mount bolt there. It's not terribly big, so quite a struggle to actually fit any sizable battery on there. So I swapped it all over, and I went, instead of the French connection, I went for British frame with Chris Ross's AOS 5 long range, which is like his ultralight, but as you can see it's a bit dead catty. So you get those props out of you. So that's the latest little beastie. And strangely
I
enough,
like the fact
it's got
you
a lot
said
of space
I
for
swapped
batteries.
it all over, but you seem to have two completely built quads there. So when you say swapped it all
No.
over, just
So
I just bought some
there
more
were
parts and
motors.
built another
I
quad.
changed the motors because I felt like going 6S. That one was 4S. So I went from the T motor 2203.5 on like 2700 kV for 4S to the RC in power 2105. So from 2203.5 to a 2105 at 1850 kV for 6S, because I just had a lot of 6S cells, and I was not convinced that. Well, I just fancied buying more random crap. Who am I lying to, right? So we've got new motors here, so it's a little 6S Ripper. Fun
Nice.
times. Yeah.
What are you bringing to the?
So I'm bringing this, which is a 5-inch ultralight, and then I'm bringing. Obviously, everyone needs a regular 5-inch. So that one apparently has an iFlight Twin G, and good thing too, because iFlight sold them as twin gyros with one of the gyros bound to blow up. This one did blow up. It also had a bit of metal stuck in one of the back motors. Don't know how long that's been there, but it was causing quite a bit of trouble. So that is now running on the second of the two gyros and is a happy bunny. Then I will also be bringing the 5.5-inch, a little bit more cruisy, a little bit more leisurely, not quite so crazy high rate. And then wireless headset.
That big one in the background.
I won't bring the giant Octo. Bringing a 7-inch AOS 7, very tasty. Stop trying to run it on 8S. It was a stupid idea. It was fun, but largely uncontrollable, and the random motor desyncs were terrifying. So I stopped doing that.
Always terrifying.
Yeah. Failsafe said he wanted someone to run a stall where they would show off Avatar, and therefore he needed someone with a partially built quad. And I'm your guy. Because there you are, there's an AOS 3.5 that keeps breaking on me, so that's going to get an Avatar HD thing in there for flying. And then we've also got just several small micros that happen to be in my pocket. So
How big's your car?
we've got those, couple of 2.5 inches, 3 2.5 inches. Hang on a minute, I'll get there in the end. We've got a 3-inch running Shark by HD0, whatever you want to call it, just in case anyone's curious. A 4-inch little long range for a bit of filming with the Insta360 Smo 4K, maybe. And
Keeps going.
Call 1-800.
last but not least,
Dronaholics
there's a little
Anonymous.
DJI
Yeah.
Naked Vista, just little doodad that I quite like 'cause it's cute and it's yellow. It's nice.
What is the big thing in the background?
And that is everything except for this guy, which I'm also bringing. That's it.
There's
that
Frank
big
struggling
thing?
to get one quad running. Jack's got one quad running.
Yeah. Yeah, so far
11?
the Baby Hill car is the only one that I know is working definitely because I've flown it. This TSX 220 seems to be fine. And then there's the other thing that I don't even know how to explain what it is. It's just a quad, and it's
I reckon they're going to declare a limit on quads when Stephen gets to like safety testing and prove the fail safe. Like half an hour later, he's like halfway through the quads.
that's
and
why
that's
Stephen
it.
was
That's the
asking when
limit.
they were opening, isn't it? He's got to be at the
Can I
front
go?
of the queue.
They
Steve's gonna
are
have to
all
leave
bound to
later
express
tonight.
LRS with the same bind phrase, so it's actually pretty easy. I love Express LRS for that. Like, just multi-bind is standard. Everything just You set the same passphrase and off you go. It's amazeballs.
I like it.
You
What are you
didn't
bringing,
answer the
Tony?
question. I don't know if I'm 100% going. If I do, I will take probably the X-Class, probably I've got a couple of 5-inch drones and maybe a long-range stuff. I've got all my quads are working. So I can
How?
take anything.
Who have
Could
you
take
locked
anything.
Danny in the basement again? And was like, you're not allowed out till you've
I
done
just
all
don't-
this.
I just don't crash.
I didn't crash. I plugged mine in and it went bang.
Well, that was unlucky.
you- Someone needs to send Jack a soldering tutorial.
Yeah.
No, to be fair, my X-Class caught fire a couple of months ago, so that's been rebuilt, so that's flying nice. Yeah, everything just seems to be alright at the moment. I don't do bando, so that's, you know, if I do go to this thing, I'll probably fly massively around it and just go, oh, I'm just going around in circles.
Do a pretty
I
orbit.
just don't like breaking stuff or risking
Me neither,
breaking
mate.
stuff, so...
I have seen you fly a bando, and yeah, it was quite dramatic.
It's always dramatic.
Yeah.
But
What's this?
I-
Was this in the south? Do we have a bando in the south? I thought
It
we had to
was
go
a
north.
bando in the south, and I had to climb.
There
on the
was,
roof-
now it's a block of
roof, if I
flats.
remember.
Yeah. Seen that.
Yeah,
Are they not the towers down?
towers.
Cooling towers.
I don't know if they're still up or not. Actually,
They were north though. That doesn't count.
yeah, that was very north. That was nosebleed. Like, this is another reason that I don't know whether I'm going or not, because I will have severe nosebleeds.
There is a bando that I thought wasn't a bando, because when I went there were people in Hi-Viz and hard hats telling me to go away.
That's called a building site, Frank.
Yeah, but apparently, according to some people on Facebook, they've been going there recently, and all the people have left, and it's now bandoed. It is now abandoned.
So I should bring a Hi-Viz on my trip then.
Yes, always. Return to home jacket.
Yeah. It is handy to be able to see where you are instead of an
Surely
arrow.
there's... Yeah,
That's why I have
surely
my
there's
return to
tons of
home hoodie.
bandos. Oh, yeah. There's got to be lots of bandos in the north, but nothing in the south, I guess, huh?
Yeah, we'll
Scream up
find some
north.
on
There was
the
never
way.
really any industry in the south. It was some farms that then became like offices. There's no factories really to speak of.
Mm. Yeah, and I guess the construction sites are pretty high security out there, I guess, right?
Well,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think the problem is if there were ever bandos down the south, they've been developed instantly. Or
Yeah.
if there's more than like a patch of land this big, then I'll
That's
put some
it.
flats on it.
Like I've only been living in London for 10 years, and the property prices went up 100% in my
Wow.
area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. It's crazy. So yeah, I don't know.
Well, I've been living in London longer than 10 years. I've had a house for 10 years, so I've been aware of it, I should say.
What are you
South
doing this
south and then
weekend,
move
Perry?
North. I'm not going up north. I don't have a car. Well, I do. I've got the courtesy car because the garage
Oh,
couldn't
no.
work
Oh,
out how
dear.
to. A
Charge it?
specialised repair centre could not work out how to spray a side panel without having big bubbles in the paint, which the QC guy didn't notice and said, "What's that?
How?
Why is my panel textured and the other side isn't?"
Do they
And
know
he
that
came
they
into
can breathe
it
out
came
their
into some
nose?
nonsense like, well, at Tesla they do it with robots. I was like, yeah, but the robot's holding a spray gun and going.
Fuck's sake.
Shh.
You could do that
That's
in
what
any
you have to
random
do.
body shop without screwing it up, couldn't you?
I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a comment. Yeah, we're doing some annoyances. There's family. This is my worst year for having family things that are going on and on.
Sounds like
instantly.
you're having a family.
Yeah. Just don't have families. Yeah, no, I'm going. The week we're supposed to be meeting up, I'm going away, and then during that week, I'm having to drive to Cornwall and back in one day, and then back up.
They're going to make you sit on an island again and drink
Leeds
cocktails,
and
Terry.
No, it's nothing like that. It's just checking out universities. Part of the world tour of checking universities out endlessly, and then going back there because we didn't check it out the first time well enough.
Oh God.
And stuff. So yeah, I will not be coming. But it is a long way.
Sorry,
I also like. Ugh, I don't know if I could do that drive. But mostly because I keep driving that sort of distance on a weekly basis at the moment. Or I say me driving, I don't drive it because I can't be in the car with my wife and me drive, else she tells me I'm doing everything wrong all the way up there, which is a bit grating after 200 miles. It's easy just to let her drive.
Yeah.
I might be testing out a new product. I've
Ooh.
got something exciting. Shall I show you?
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's a helicopter.
Shiny.
Ah.
I thought,
K110S. That sounds like a familiar product line. Wasn't there something else with the K numbering series in helis?
well, it's apparently a pretty popular heli. I did that thing with the little thing that looked like the little Black Hornet, and a bunch of people told me, oh, you should check out the XK110. And I thought I should try that because I can't fly helicopters, so I should immediately buy myself some 3D one and smash it into the ground. That'll work.
The ground and then the ceiling, and then the ground and then the ceiling, yeah?
Yeah, it was fun enough to fly that little silly one around because I found out that flying line of sight in a helicopter is so much more easy than the quad because it looks different.
Looks different, doesn't it?
You know
got a
those
tail
quads,
rotor.
they just look like X's.
Rotational
Yeah,
uniformity.
helis look
It's
like
a
helicopters.
bugger, isn't it?
Yeah. And I thought I'm going to try it. So I'll start off slow. Just try like flying it like without the upside downy bits. And then build up slowly if it survives. I have had a look at it. It does feel rather flimsy, but people tell me that you can smash it into the ground and it doesn't break into a million pieces.
Is
We
it a
shall see.
brushless one?
I don't think it is actually.
Because that 110 size would be on the cusp of low-end brushless versus brushed, right?
It says large torque cordless motor. Cordless motor normally
That's
means
brushed.
not, doesn't it?
That means
Yeah.
brushed, yeah.
Oh no, and then here it says 1106 powerful brushless motor.
Oh. Maybe it's
One
got
of-
a
one of
brushed
them
motor
is,
on the
one of them
tail
isn't,
and
yeah.
the main rotor's brushless.
Yeah, I
Probably.
don't know. Anyway, I thought that'd be fun. Give myself
Yeah.
a new project.
Sounds cool, man.
Although,
Yeah, good
then I
for
realised I'd have to film it with the GoPro, and the GoPro in wide in a helicopter this big. Unless I'm flying at 1 inch from my face, it's going to look. See that dot? That's me flying.
Wait till Marge, you do
Check it
full
out.
3D, 6 foot in front of your face.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
If you're doing it line of sight, though, can you not do the trick of having the camera on your head? So you just
will be
automatically
on
Put
my
one of
head.
those giant plexiglass face shields in front of you.
You can turn it to like the field of view narrow, can't you?
You can, but then I worry about like it's just out of out of the corner or something. The great thing about having
have
like a
to
GoPro
sight
is you
the
just put it on
GoPro.
wide, you put your head thing on, and you can. It's you
don't have to aim
worry
it.
about it too much.
Yeah,
Right,
you'd have to
no,
like
we
calibrate
can-
the GoPro and sight it in like a rifle otherwise, wouldn't you?
No.
No, the
Or
only
you could
thing
send
maybe to do
Cole
is
down
to
to
film
film it.
everything in 4K and maybe just zoom in a bit. If you need
Yeah,
Fix it in
yeah,
post.
that would help.
we could try that.
Yeah. Cole's got to fix my lighting issues. That's gonna be fun. Like dismantling halfway flat.
Oh dear.
Good luck.
What lighting issues? There are no lights.
Are you
Yeah.
gonna,
Just
are
go
we
and
gonna see
switch
you
the
like
switch.
lift with soft studio
Turn
lights
some
by the
lights on
time?
in the background
Hmm.
and get some fairy lights. I don't know.
The trouble with turning lights on in the background is you might see the background.
Yeah, I think that I thought that was the bigger reason because when I
That
came
was
to you
the
the other
reason.
day, Jack, and borrowed your soldering iron for a bit, you had lots of lights everywhere. It was covered in
I
lights.
know. I know. When I next see the GP, it's going to be like, I've made some life choices, and I think I'm going to give crack a go. It can only go up.
I think it'll work for you, Jack. I think it will.
Be
do.
careful
Yeah.
with it. I hear it's quite Moorish.
I hear it's quite good for losing weight. Health plan.
And teeth.
Yeah, and teeth. And the rest of it.
And bank accounts.
Yeah.
And sanity.
What sanity?
You lost that years ago, didn't you, boy?
Oh, I know.
Hang in there, dude. Hang in.
I'm
I think
trying.
anybody that sticks with this hobby has probably lost some sort of sanity.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
What
just
do you
wonder
do?
about,
Well,
like,
mainly I
cause and
spend my
effect.
time in a trance, observing the world through a camera and trying to forget about my body. Do you see a problem with that? I run out of props sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, you got a smuggler from Canada, so that's all good.
Yeah. It's a weird sort of like false meditation, isn't it? You put the
Yeah.
goggles in and it's just like,
It's 2.5
Out.
minutes.
oh yeah, hang on, where are the stickers?
Need the stickers.
Except when you're trespassing.
Live my life 3.5 minutes at a time.
No.
It's not
I,
really meditation when you're trespassing though, because then you're like, oh shit, is someone gonna come tell me to leave?
Oh my word! Had a Karen attack me.
So if you buy an LED board, you get a Tony sticker.
Ooh. I think, Jack, I'm going to have to buy one of your LED boards because the pre-production model, although I was sceptical at first, has been an absolute godsend. And it fits just perfectly on that AOS frame. So I think I'm going to shove one on my next build.
I think that's Curry with his new chopper coming in.
Maybe my next 2 builds.
Oh yeah,
Even.
maybe.
That is definitely cityscape there, where you live.
I know. It's like he lives in the future.
Shall
So-
we challenge Cole not to do an illegal live flight and dive that tower on the left there and give us the live feedback?
It
Yeah.
does look like all the best maps on the simulators.
Oh yeah.
So if
It
anyone
would
wants
be
a light
epic.
board, they're 20 mil high. They work pretty well. They're damn bright. You should just generally give us a shout and it'll get through to Jack.
Are you taking
only-
them there the weekend, Jack?
Yeah, yep, bringing them. I've got 21 of them so far, and there's a bonus fully screen printed one
No.
if someone comes up to me and says, Andy RC is a slag. There's one that's like double ESD'd as well. So it's because
Jack's secret menu.
I wrapped that up for painless, and I forgot to test it on the tester, so it may or may not work. But it's free if you come up to me and call Andy a slag in front of him.
All right, so it's not just in front of Jack. You have to wait until Jack is talking to Andy.
Well, yeah.
Approach
I
the
mean,
2 of them.
I would
Tell...
have super glued his hand to my crotch because that's what I said I'd do. So I'm definitely going to be
Only
with him.
fair.
Ah,
Okay,
it's all
okay.
making sense now. I was wondering why Andy was volunteering for so many things at the
Yeah.
event. He's like, he's given himself lots of things to do. I was like, why are you making yourself so busy all this weekend?
Keep
I'm
that
going to be able
away.
to hang out. This is why he's just making sure.
Avoiding being on his own with Jack.
Yeah.
I bought 2 different kinds of remover just in case it goes
Oh wow.
horribly wrong.
Oh, poor Andy.
I'm do I use thick or do I use medium? I'm more of a thick
What?
man myself.
I heard it
but-
as medium anyway.
No, yeah.
What happens if you don't get the grab right? I mean, you really got to do that very, very carefully. If you've got a hand covered in super glue, that's just going to...
Frank's like, why
It's a
have
one
I
shot.
come back?
It's a one shot.
Yeah.
Precision.
Yeah. Ryan, are you going? Because I bought a manual with me for you.
A
Frank.
manual. Okay.
Yeah. You left this here, which I think is.
Drugs.
Oh,
What is
no.
it? I can't
No,
see it.
it doesn't matter. You've got the bit you would have used
Is not in it.
It's servo point. Servo horns, but the one you'd use for your wing is gone, so you obviously don't care about this. So
No.
I've been looking
Luckily,
after that.
they put 2 screws in each box, which I was very happy about because
Luckily,
I didn't
Frank
put the
does
screw
have
in
the
that
horn.
servo.
Did you? Oh dear. I need to find out whether they do that with the mini ones and put a screw back into the tiny trainer. But that's a problem for future Jack.
Right.
There's lots of problems for future Jack.
So you're building a tiny trainer. Which tiny trainer? The quad
The
tiny
flight
trainer,
test
or a
tiny trainer, not the
flight
quad
test tiny
tiny
trainer?
trainer.
Yeah.
All right. And you need to, okay.
Has anyone taken any wings the weekend? Or is it literally just quads there? I mean, it is
Andy's
trying-
definitely bringing fixed wing stuff.
I was going to
I
say.
I did
Gonna be-
obtain a
Gonna
pair of
leave it to him.
sandals, so if anyone wants, I could put on socks and sandals and fly a wing. You
Do
just give
own
me some
white
advance
socks?
warning and I'll change my foot. I don't have white, they're black socks. Is that allowed?
It's not. I think
Oh.
They need to
I
be
mean,
white and it's ankle, or no, they got to be like shin socks.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
got to be
yeah.
white, and they've got to go
That's
up
going to be
quite high up.
difficult. Maybe I can obtain some white socks from the supermarket on the way up. I'll see what I can do. I do have a pair of sandals, so I'm halfway there.
Very good, very good. I was thinking that I would like to bring some fixed wing stuff to fly, but then I realised that if I want to fly it again after the weekend, I should not fly it at an event where there's a lot of quad,
Yes.
because I've learnt this
Is-
lesson.
Aren't
If you
going
fly
to-
something made of
much
foam around lots of things that are made out of carbon fibre, turns out
No,
the foam
blenders.
loses. Yeah.
Flying blenders.
Haven't you,
I just wonder if there's
someone-
enough space for a wing though. But
I think
There's a
so
fairly
much
big open space to the southeast of it, I think.
oh, okay.
Right. So LDO represent crew are going to be there in socks and sandals with all the cool FPV quad kids. That's how you recognise the LDO crew.
I don't know whether I can do socks and sandals.
I'd
I don't even
absolutely
think they
love to see
sell-
you in socks and sandals.
Well, I'd have to buy 2 kayaks for the size of my feet, and then just like ratchet strap them.
Just go old school,
Yeah.
mate. Just find an old tyre.
Yeah,
You might just get a pair
cut it
out of
out. Yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah, barefoot running. Me run. Haha.
I've seen it once.
What in your nightmares?
I was running the other way, yeah.
Was it towards something or away from
No,
something?
it was when he fucking hit me with that bloody piece of aluminium, the little gobshite.
Oh, jeez.
Alright.
Sorry about that
Actually-
outburst, editor. Me
Was
and
that
Tony have got
was that
marriage
following an
issues.
attempt to stick your hand to anyone's crotch by any chance, or was it provoked?
No,
To his head.
no. Dealing with Crohn's and not being able to go out and fly.
Fair enough.
So, yeah, it's
Speaking of
getting
which-
that way.
Did anyone go fly?
I did. I went flying at the place with the big tall trees that I posted a
Uh-huh.
picture of a couple of months back. Because I was like, oh,
Where's the
this is the
real
place I
Frank
can
and
fly.
what have you done with him?
Well done, Frank. Well done.
He's cooked. He's lightly
What
roasted.
did you fly and what happened?
Yes.
The Baby Hawk
Stories.
art is what I flew because that's the only thing that I have any confidence in, and it's small and inconspicuous.
Which
Uh,
version of the
Tall
Baby
trees.
Hawk is that? Is that the 3.5-inch one, or is that one of the littler ones? is
It's small. It's
I'd say
like-
3.5 inches is massive.
that's one for the editor. Sorry. The thing is, right? If you
Go
say
on, Jack.
like Hitler suck off I, what he'll do is ignore the Hitler and pull when I say Tony at the beginning of the
Yes,
intro,
it
and then
does.
rearrange it so it says I've sucked off Tony.
But basically,
Yeah, so I might as well just
that's
say
value
that
for
to
money,
make his
right
life
there.
easier. Yeah.
well, now he's
It's
got that.
pointless. It's pointless fighting it because if you don't say it,
makes it
he's
anyway.
got a bank of stuff from other episodes that he could just assemble whatever you want. We are literally little Furbies in his
Editor,
hands.
we require the mashup podcast at some point. That's just purely constructed
Please,
BS for
Don't
90
take-
minutes.
Auto
Don't
tune the radio LDO edition.
he could
Auto tune the
literally
news.
yeah, it will be like Niall Green. It will be like LDO out of context. He will do it because he's that deranged. Not in a bad way. It's just he's just content.
Quick,
to make
back out,
that
back
himself.
out, back out. I think the editor might have heard us. Back it up, back it up.
Deranged in a good way.
Yeah,
Nicely deranged, as the common expression
Wonderfully,
goes.
beautifully, geniusly deranged.
yeah, like mad scientist. I don't know.
So I tried to teach someone to fly this week.
Ooh, how did that
Oh,
go?
that's
Exactly.
interesting.
Well, after having to replace my all-in-one and finding out how expensive they were the last time I did this, I decided to advise them to try a simulator beforehand, and also not be a 5-year-old child. Once those prerequisites were both met, pretty good. Couple of batteries.
Weren't they a 5-year-old child?
They were not a 5-year-old child, and they're the person who owns this big old Octo over there. And they had
Oh, wow.
Tyrannus kicking around, so I got the Tyrannus, and I got Curry Kitten Sim, available at all good outlets. Set it up on his laptop, plugged in the old Tyrannus with a mini USB, mapped the controls, and said, wiggle
Try
it,
doing that.
do the thing.
So
And
he's
left
only
him alone
flown.
for a while.
He's only flown GPS stuff. Basically, he's just flown
Yeah,
push
he's
stuff
flown-
around the sky.
Push a camera around the sky. So he did all right. A couple of packs. I got a little micro, and I put a throttle limit on it with a 2S lipo. Normally, it I run a 3S and no throttle limit. But just to make it tame, so that he needed kind of 50-60% throttle to hover, so he couldn't go too crazy. And he did all right, and had got a little monitor here, which he's got for his giant Octo, so I could kind of keep an eye on it. And he did a couple of batteries, did pretty well. I suggested he should have the last flight, and predictably it kind of went over into another field, and we had to go find it.
Oh.
You
But
can't say that. You
Oh,
just
there was
don't say
there was
this is
no
the last
damage,
battery. This is the
no
last
damage,
flight.
no damage apart from one slightly bent prop. So I think that is a success. He started off doing the first pack on angle, got him on acro mode on the second pack, doing well. Pretty impressed.
Lots
Good
of
Cool.
bobbliness or
A little bit of that kind of bunny hopping throttle like learners
Trying
with
to
cars.
find- yeah.
A little bit of that, but he got it under control, I think.
That's pretty cool.
Hmm.
Going from so he knew what he was doing on sticks. It was just totally
Yeah,
bit-
just a muscle memory.
Yeah, it's quite different though, isn't it? Pushing a camera around the sky to learn an FPV. But if you've got that knowledge straight away of the movements, you know what's up and what's down.
Yeah.
You're kind of halfway there, aren't you?
I think the chief problem is like when you're in a sim, you can fly
Throttle
miles
control.
away and go up like 200 meters in the sky. Whereas if you're flying a tiny little micro around someone's garden, you can't just disappear to the next county. You've got to keep it somewhere where you don't lose signal and your video doesn't cut out on you.
Yeah. Interesting. Did you video any of it?
I spared him that indignity, so no.
It would
It's a learning experience. Wow.
that's the way. I mean,
mean,
that's
Film,
good
film his
though.
face to
First
see what's
pack,
happening on his expression.
yeah.
Well, it's so much easier now, isn't it? When I was learning to fly, there was no no sims, nothing. It was just
Yeah. Tony taught me how to fly. Really.
Well,
Ron was encouraging me to
Ray.
do a buddy box, but I didn't do
Yeah.
that. I probably should have done that.
From my experience,
time.
buddy boxing is a whole other skill that you have to learn before you teach someone else how to fly. Otherwise,
What we need to do
as the
is
editor
to-
will attest, it doesn't help.
What we need to do is to make every OpenTX or EdgeTX radio come with Bluetooth by default, and then just that functionality can be table stakes for every single radio, and you know it's going to work, and it would just be used much more widely. The instant you have to mess around and try and find jack cables and figure out if they work or not, it all just kind of goes out the window. It's not helpful. But if they all came with Bluetooth and wireless trainer could just be enabled instantly, it'd be more useful, I think.
Curry done a really good job with Soph by you were just doing the throttle.
I was just doing the throttle,
yeah,
and she was doing the other stuff, and I could flick over and take over.
Yeah,
but it didn't take. She was so. I think she was a bit stressed flying, even though I said, "Don't matter if it crashes. It's all right. We've got other quads." But she was like, "Oh." She was not chilled after that flight. Put it that way.
Yeah, it's like when you hand your quad to someone and they delicately hold it. And you're like, I literally fly this into walls and the floor at like 70 to 90 miles an hour. And they're like, yeah, here you go. And you're just like, throw it over there, you know, like loosely strap it in the bag and it falls out, bash it on the side of the car. No, it's just,
yeah, generally the things that get hurt by quads hitting them tend to be the other things, unless it's a brick building. And even then it has to be very much the exterior.
It's metal building this weekend, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's going to be interesting, that.
Yeah.
Has anyone had a go on the...
concrete?
Has anyone tried the Uncrashed map? Had a little explore?
I did. I had a little go. I was awful at it on the inside. It was literally like pinball. I was just dinging off things and.
Oh God.
Yeah, I was.
Have they got drone retrieval people there?
That's why we're desperately trying to get you to attend, Joan.
I actually just got my massive pole out of the loft. Look at this.
We've got you, Tony, and someone's bringing a Spider-Man costume for you as well.
Excellent. I do enjoy climbing up things.
Would you dress up like a kind of ice hockey goalie or something, and then just walk around to retrieve quads?
I can do that, yeah.
Have you never thought about doing like rock climbing and stuff? Because like those guys get so like hench and then can like hang off door frames with like 2 fingers and stuff.
It's alright, at this bounder that we went to, and Tony had a failsafe and just landed on top of this like enormous metal frame truss building. It's alright, he doesn't need to practice rock climbing. He just got out there in like 7 seconds.
That's what I call it.
Not scared of
up the
climbing.
side.
Half the battle, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm terrified of heights.
Yeah, I just don't look down. Same as window cleaning, just look forward, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like Tom Scott, isn't he? Like he learned that tightrope stuff. I recommend that video. I mean, Frank's obviously trapeze, isn't it, or something? I don't know. But he like learned how to like walk across a steel steel cable with like a balance beam. And really high up. Admittedly, he was hooked up, but it was somewhere in Wales. It's like it's a recent Tom Scott video, but the guy does it without hooking himself in and just walk across a couple of meters high up.
I also climbed and rescued Ed's quad at Bando. Well, I wouldn't call it a Bando. It's more like an old church area.
Hey, failsafe.
I was up there like a whippet and got his quad down. I've rescued many quads in my time from trees.
I'm glad there's someone who's not terrified of heights, because I would brick myself.
Yeah, Tony's rescued my chair out of the tree and found my GoPro.
Stop. Rewind. He rescued your chair from a tree.
Yeah, well, Jack was throwing his chair up to rescue a quad, and then I think, did you get your quad back and left your chair up there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Climb up and
It
get
was-
the air back.
It was one of Dan's quads. Dan got my quad out of the tree first with this stick, and then he got his quad stuck, and then the good boomerang thick stick got stuck up there, and then I threw my chair up, and then it knocked his quad out of the tree, but then my stool got stuck in the tree, and then we had nothing other than quads to throw to try and get a massive seat out, and we both looked at each other and went, yeah, we need Tony. and then we like left it for like 4 days to the weekend, and then Tony come up and got it out the tree in one. Thanks, Tony.
It's all right. I've rescued many a quads from trees and buildings.
And you,
It's the Lord's work you do.
yeah. He also found my GoPro Hero 4
Yeah.
with his metal detector.
Oh yeah. Don't tell anyone what I'm a detectorist.
Why?
Shush. This is secret.
It's not
Sparrow
cool.
thing.
It's not
Oh,
cool.
Exactly. That is where I wear my socks and
That's
sandals.
where, yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
Secret. I didn't know.
So
I didn't know it was a taboo thing. My favourite thing ever about metal detectors. Do you ever remember Balls of Steel and the little devil? The little devil got out of Hydrojet a massive sign that just said "twat" and buried it in the sand, and then the metal detectors would find it, and then think they've like struck gold, dig it up, pull it up, and then it would just say "twat." Or he was like hiding in the sand dunes, laughing at him.
I've been on the end of the twat in the sand dunes. Thank you, Jack.
Really?
Well, what do you mean, really? You wrote it in the sand and pointed a big arrow to
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
I was crying.
That's on my Instagram if anyone wants that one.
Yeah,
Right
that's
until I
right.
fly. Two L's, I think.
That was a good trip. That was. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, we need to do more of that, but I think it like stresses Frank the fuck out.
What stresses Frank out is us knocking at his door at 4 a.m.
Yeah, true.
I
It
mean,
stresses me out because I'm in Wales, and then Frank has to deal with me being an arsehole,
and then we have to deal with
taking me
Tony
to
checking out the
Oh my
the
god.
landlord's filter.
Oh mate, I never like it takes effort, right? For
I had 50 quid.
have a go on her. Oh god, I can't believe I said that. Cut that out. It'll be a miracle if that stays in. It takes hard work, right, to say something where I want the floor to open up and swallow me, and that was one of the rare occasions where I was like,
Topic change. Failsafe. Failsafe is ready for FPV Drone Fest, or is asking if everyone else is. I was saying earlier, I think he went to Croatia recently and came back with only one quad. So it'll be interesting to see what he finally turns up with. I hope he makes it. He's waiting in to see if his walk snail kit arrives, hoping and praying that he can do a demo. I think he's set himself up as volunteering to be kind of the man on the ground to show people what all this walk snail business is about. So if anyone wants to check that out, Failsafe's going to have a little gazebo and hopefully a monitor so you can have a gander and see what it actually looks like without YouTube standing in the way.
yeah.
I've been obviously avoiding all the talk about let's try and predict what's happening and let's try and guess what's coming videos. But I did see a couple of walk snail videos which seemed to end in a black screen of death, like Bot Grinder.
Oh.
Had a look at it, and for once it wasn't just Bot Grinder sort of blacking out. It was flying along, and then the screen went blank, and he couldn't figure it out. And I saw another video where it just blacked out, and then this guy crashed into some trees. So I don't know if it's firmware not ready, or there's issues with certain ones, or whatever. But yeah, we wait for
classically, a lot of this
further
stuff-
upgrades.
a lot of this stuff, unlike a traditional VTX, needs a ton of different voltages to actually make it function. It doesn't just want to convert to 5 volt. It needs 3.3 volt, 1.2 volt, needs a ton of different voltages internally. So they've got a whole load of different BECs, and those aren't always durable when you try and cram that many different voltage rails on something.
Oh,
I
no.
see.
Is that on the transmitter side or
On the transmitter, yeah.
Oh,
It's basically a mini PC, isn't it?
yeah. Yeah, I
It's got a lot
suppose.
going on.
VRM.
Well, they try to rush these
Yeah.
things through all the time. That's the
Exactly.
problem. It's
I
all
wish I
right.
could remember what VRM stood for. I can't remember.
Voltage regulator module.
Yeah, that's it.
Talking of
Why,
rushing things through, I looked at the new RunCam Pro thumb, and
Oh,
this
yeah.
seems like a good camera, but the one they should have brought out earlier, which was the original RunCam Pro, which was poop. And that
Yeah,
kind
you're-
of
What was the video you just done?
that was on the Pro, but I looked
Yeah.
at the previous one and I tried multiple times to make it work with gyroflow, and whenever I put it into gyroflow it would just get worse.
Made it worse.
Because all the gyro data, you can see it literally going out in different stages, and people are like happy with the Pro, but they're a little bit, I think, quite justifiably upset that they launched this camera. They used this sort of buzzword of like works with gyroflow, and people are like, oh, that's good, it's cheap and it's 1080p 60. We all buy that. Loads of people bought it, didn't get very good results from it, and then they're like, oh, don't worry about that. Here's a Pro version. We've gone back and we've done it, and now it works better, which is all very good. But I did ask them. I said, what are you going to do about all these people that have got the original and are a bit upset about it? Are you going to give an upgrade, or are you going to fix it? And they've insisted they're going to continue to work on the firmware and have it work better with gyroflow. That's what they're saying.
Greets to Mr. Death FPV.
I was really impressed with your results, especially when you didn't take the initial gyro because it was like a block. You kind of cut the beginning and end off, and then use that data, because you didn't run into like the what was it, the black bars at the side when it exceeds. I thought you'd done a really good job, Curry. It looked
Thank you.
It looked good, man.
It's
It
very
really
nice.
did. I was impressed.
How long can it record 4K for? Was there
I don't know. I'm not
time?
doing 4K because 4K only goes to 30 frames a second. And
Right. So
I saw
2.7K.
from a previous... I sent a comment to Oscar about him filming, and he said he didn't do 4K because it was a bit stuttery even at 30, and he was using 2.7K 60. So I did that, and that gives it enough resolution so when it does zoom in, if you did that at 1080p, you'd end up with like horrible blocks and stuff, but 2.7K is okay for doing that. But yeah, the test is going to be, how will it do on a 5-inch? Because lots of people want to put it on a 5-inch, not because they're like, oh, this is better than a GoPro, but because they don't want to risk a GoPro. They want a nice cheap camera, which
Because outside
is
the
okay.
States, you can't just take it back to a supermarket and get it replaced.
No. And I managed to replace my GoPro once. I broke my original session on a quad, and all I wanted to do was buy it. Stripped the outside of it, the metal end, and I said, oh, I need to replace this. Is there a part I can buy? And they said, what happened? I said, it was on a quad, and it crashed, and the things come off, and like, oh, we can't help you because it was on a quad. So I was like, okay, let's try the live chat again. Hi, I broke my camera. What happened? I don't know. It fell. And they just they said send it back, and they replaced the entire camera. So it's fine.
Just don't mention
tell them
quad
it's
and
not a
you're
quad.
good. Yeah.
No quads.
You meant quad bike, right? That was what you're talking about.
Yeah. You know, I was doing ski. If you're like skiing or surfing and stuff like that, and a shark hit it or something,
Mountain biking.
that's on the approved GoPro list. But
Yeah.
quads not so
Quads
much.
are not, yeah.
As long as you hurt yourself and the device, they're hoping that you crash so hard that you are unable to go to get a replacement.
Yeah, to go to the shop.
Yeah.
So
I
with this,
jumped out of a plane.
with this thumb, the original one, was it just that the CPU was so slow it couldn't properly record gyro data and ended up all jittery and out of sync?
That is my theory, because what Runcam said to you is it would do 1080-60, and they said put it on 1080-50 if you're going to do gyro, which kind of says to me already that there's
Sounds
not
like
enough
you're on the
CPU
edge.
cycles to do this. And
Yeah.
the facts, it's all going. It was just the fact that when I got the new one and had a look at it, and everything just matched up lovely. It's like this first one is obviously writing out crap, and Gyroflow can't, crap in,
me.
crap out sort of thing.
Someone's at
I mean, you
gyro
can
data.
record all the gyro data in the world, but if it's not synced to the video, it's crap all use, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
and people wrote
Dropping.
in the video like, "Why don't you do black box recording?" It's because I don't have hours to
Yeah.
do this for a not very good. I want something easy, and already, if you're just doing like the easiest thing, which for me was put it into Gyroflow, do an auto sync, takes about 3 minutes. We're clicking a few buttons, we're taking mostly the defaults, and we're saying render. That's about 10 minutes. So we're still extra stuff we're doing. 13 minutes is long enough extra on top of what I would be doing. Because don't forget, this is per video, and you'll go out and you do 4, 8 flights, won't you, and stuff, and then you might want to, not you, Stephen, because you don't ever do videos. You're too lazy. But if you were going to making,
fine.
if you were going to making video of your flight over FPV Drone Fest, you'd want to do all the recording. You'd run it all through Gyroflow. You'd be an extra couple of hours of processing just to go and then look at this stuff in an editor and decide what's good. So you don't want to have to spend even more time bringing black box recordings, manually trying to sync this to get it right, and then even when you're flying, you'd be like, I must get that black box data off, and then delete all the black box data so I'm ready for the next one, and then I'll have to write down on some note paper about what's what, and it's just a nightmare.
And we've had some people say, oh, you might need to play with a low pass filter, but you're running like 43 hertz low pass, so quite aggressive filtering.
I wasn't on that one because they hadn't
On
given
the
any information
original
about
thumb.
the low pass. On the original we were, because Runcam said do it, and then other people said don't do that. I think the problem is, as soon as something doesn't work quite right, then there's like legend builds up about how you process it, and it's
and the manufacturer should step up and say, this is the settings that we used, these are results that we get, here's the best practice. But they rarely do. They leave the community to figure out what the best practice is, which sucks, because then you're like, who do I trust more, this person in the community or this other person? And it's horrible.
Yeah, absolutely. It comes down again to, I think we talked about it before, it's basic functional testing. If Runcam had gone out and flown that seriously, then they'd have said, this mount's no good, this is all wobbly, get rid of that one. Use the TPU one for starters, and then they'd have done testing on various quads, and they'd have put it into Gyroflow and said, oh, this makes worse in Gyroflow, there must be something wrong, let's go back and look at the firmware and see what's going on and fix it. But they never did. They just said, look, it writes out gyro data, you can use Gyroflow, that's a buzzword, tick, let's get it out there for sale, loads of people buy it, and then it gets into this annoying thing where some people are saying, yeah, it's brilliant, you can do this, you just have to spend 4 hours. Like the amount of time people want me to spend on it, I could literally draw each frame with a mouse and stuff and say, perfect, there it is.
Considering Runcam didn't bother to go to Gyroflow and create a profile that actually suited their hardware, which would have been trivial for them to do, I think. Unless they
should have done the lens profile. They should have done.
FPV has some tidbits there. He says he's getting good results, but it sounds like that's kind of detective work you've got to do as an end user, and that's not good enough. When you say that your product supports something, you should provide an example of how to use it.
It should be easier. The fact that you've got this camera and it's easy, it's like that's what the first one should be. That's what
you want, right?
Yeah, you shouldn't have to mess about with it unless
and
you really
for
want
most
to,
people, spending the extra 20 or 30 quid to get one that just works, as opposed to maybe spending hours of time to home in on the right settings for their quad and their video footage, it's worth the money, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully this is a trend and we start to see other kind of super cheap cameras that people can afford to fly and crash with able to do stabilization. I mean, it's a nice idea.
I like it because it's small, and I'd like to put it on maybe my foot when I'm cycling, and like different places on my bike and things like that. Not just quads. Maybe on
This
my
is
dog
Tony's new
while
line of
she's
foot fetish videos.
What-
Put it on my. Watch my foot as I pedal, everybody.
watch my foot. Well, maybe
I'm wearing sandals with my long socks.
maybe
Yeah.
even on the dog, like chasing me down the trails and things like that. So that's what I'm interested in, being it that small, but not just quads, just other things as well. But that's just me.
Might work.
All right.
Thanks, Billy.
It's a nice idea. There's plenty of uses.
Right, unfortunately, that is all we have time for. Let's Show Now is sponsored by no one, so that's why we can say whatever we like within
That's where we
reason.
talk bollocks.
Yeah,
Whatever words the editor puts in our mouths.
and however he, who we are at his mercy and discretion, can make us say or seem to be saying anything he wants as his will. But this show is sponsored by and funded by our lovely patrons, and it keeps the editor fed. It allows us to use StreamYard, and we have to give blood money to SoundCloud because we're their little bitches. But it would not be possible without these lovely people down at the bottom and the people.
Thank you, lovely Patreons.
Yeah, thank you. Especially the 3 to 4 people that we introduced at the beginning of the recorded podcast.
If anyone wants to get a shout out at the start of our podcast as an editor, you can pledge as an editor, and you will get personally called out at the start of each and every audio podcast release if you're interested. Just to let you know.
We got a slot available. You've been listening to Let's Show Now. We love you guys. We love our Patreons. And you've been listening to everyone's favourite Curry Kitten.
Goodbye.
My buddy Carl, who does beautiful thumbnails and organises so much behind the scenes. Thank you, buddy. And I will see you tomorrow.
See ya.
It feels weird to say. The man with the moustache, Stephen.
See ya.
Lovely painted wall, Frank.
Thank you. Bye.
Gorgeous. And recovering and slightly coffee and sick, my darling wife, Tone Star.
Bonjour, safe flight, Carl.
Thanks, man.
Yep. It's the landing you want to watch. And I've been bright until I fly. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Let's drone out.